Okay, so in the second part, we'll come again. We will discuss another 20 questions, starting from 21 up to 40. Question 21 says a network admin enabled port security on a switch interface that is connected to a printer. So that interface is connected to one end device, which is a printer. What is the next config action in order to allow that port to learn the MAC address of the printer and insert that into the table automatically, not manually? Because in manual there should be a static MAC address learning, which is the implement static MAC address learning, but manually means it is sticky, because in the sticky you will enable this guy to send a request to the end device requesting kindly about your MAC address please. When it replies back, it will take copy of that MAC address, type it on a label, and stick that label in the MAC table, in the MAC address table of that same switch. So the dynamic learning will learn everything. This will not be port security. The sticky will be the correct one, and the auto MAC learning is incorrect as well. Is there such option like D? I don't know. So it will be C for question 21. Question 22, which config ensures that the switch is always the root for this VLAN? So it's a PVST. So spanning tree VLAN 750 priority billions. There is no such command. There is no such numerical value that is accepted. The maximum is 65. Sometimes it's 61,000. Okay, 65,000 or 61,000. Spanning tree VLAN 75 root primary. Correct. I have done that before and labbed that. It can work, and it's also labbed in the CCNP Enterprise Core English course in chapter 3 infrastructure. Spanning tree VLAN 75 priority 61,000-ish. This is 614,000 with a 0. There is no such numerical value. The maximum is, if it was in the multiplies, yeah, it will be with 2 4s in the middle, not 3 4s, please. Yeah, you're using an extra 4s here. D, spanning tree VLAN 75 priority 0. This one works as well, but the question is of 4 answers and it does not say choose 2, but both of them are extremely correct. Which one will surely you choose from a perspective of software support in the Cisco devices and from the perspective of the spanning tree election criteria and procedure? Then go with the priority, not with the primary. Go with the priority. So D, choose D in just in case it was answer 1, and choose BD if it was answer 2. Answer 2 options. 23 says an engineer must configure OSPF neighbor relationship between R1 and 3. The authentication config has been configured and the connecting interfaces are on the same subnet. Thanks, subnet. What are the next 2 steps to complete the config? What would you need if there was authentication and IP addresses on an interface to make OSPF? Actually, if you were generous enough, then I would like to request OSPF config, not authentication and IP addresses. We would need an OSPF configuration like a process ID, an area, timers and such. Let's see. So configure hello and dead timers. No need for that by default. Configure the same process ID. It's not necessary. Configure the same router ID. Extremely incorrect. Each one should have a unique router ID. Configure the interfaces on both sides as OSPF active. So advertise OSPF networks by using this OSPF command of network-ish something. So this, yes, correct. And configure both interfaces to be on the same area ID, which is necessary and important. 24 says what protocols allows an engineer to backup 20 network router configuration globally while using the copy function? I did discuss that and answer that with SNMP in some couple of videos before, so it will be SNMP. 25 says which state does the switch port move to directly when it's a port fast? So if you have a switch, all the ports are participating in the election of spanning tree. One of those guys is port fast. What good privilege will that make it? Actually, that will make it always as forwarding. It will always be in the forwarding state. It will skip the learning and the listening and well and such, so it will always be in the forwarding state, this guy. Okay, 26 says, what are the two roles of DNS in the network? Builds a flat structure of DNS names for more efficient IP operations. What do you mean by flat structure? No. Encrypts the network traffic as it travels across the WAN. By default, no. No, DNS does not encrypt by default. You'll need to enable secure DNS operations with some extra licenses and a ton of money and well to encrypt your data. Improved security by protecting the IPv4 addresses under fully qualified domain names, the FQDNS. No. It's a choose to. Okay, so enables application to identify resources by name instead of IP address. Yes, thank you. Finally, the logic of DNS is D. This is why DNS was created in the first place. Allows a single host name to be shared across more than one IP address. Yes, why? If you know Amazon.com website, type this one in your region, then it will be Amazon.com. In America, it will be US.Amazon or Amazon.us. In Canada, it will be .ca. In Britain, it will be .uk. In Emirates, it will be .uae, I believe, or .ae, and there is as well Amazon for KSA. So it's per region. So you just have to hit Amazon.com. In your browser, type Amazon. After that, hit Ctrl and Enter in your keyboard if you're using the Microsoft Windows operating system, and it will automatically be a .com, and it will automatically be translated or resolved in your DNS server to the specific IP address of that region's Amazon website. So yes, multiple names, multiple IP addresses will be shared under the same name of website.com something. 27 says, how do TCP and UDP differ in the way they guarantee packet delivery? UDP does not guarantee packet delivery. You are insulting UDP here. Okay, TCP uses checksum. Every frame uses checksum. Acknowledgement flag. Retransmissions. Yes, and UDP uses the checksums only because it's a default field in the frame, the checksum. So A is correct. TCP, I'm sorry, uses the retransmission acknowledgement and parity checks, while UDP uses the CRC only. No. The TCP uses checksum, parity checks, retransmission, while UDP using acknowledgement. UDP does not acknowledge, UDP does not guarantee, UDP does not retransmit. So TCP uses two-dimensional parity checks, checksums, and CRC, while UDP uses retransmissions. UDP does not retransmit. So I will have to choose A only for this question. Question 28 says, a device detects two stations transmitting frames at the same time. This condition occurs after the first 64 bytes of the frame is received. Okay, some mistakes are here. Interface counter increments. There is which parameter of the interface counter will increment here if there was a latency that occurs after the first 64 byte. It will be late collisions parameter in the specific interface details. Show interface gigabit ethernet 01 details, and you will see the late collision parameter is increasing every second when there is a problem with the first 64 byte if there was two stations transmitting at the same time. That is rare to happen. Which technology is used to improve web traffic performance by proxy caching? The WSA. Not the security guys. The WSA. Yes, and we need to navigate further more about that because we haven't studied WSA. Web server authentication, I believe. Yes, for the web. Yes. 30 says, using direct sequence spread spectrum, which 3 2.4 GHz channels are used to limit collisions? With no collision, it will even eliminate collisions. The 1, 6, and 11. as I specified and described in detail in chapter 6. Channels 1, channel 6 and channel 11 will be definitely separated from each other. They will have no collision, they will have no interruption between them, no noise, nothing. Okay, which type of attack can be mitigated by the DAI, the dynamic ARP inspection? Man in the middle, like the router in the middle, that hacker in the middle that will take the broadcast ARP request of yours and it will reply to you. It will not forward that to the main router, it will reply to you, okay? Or it will catch the reply of the main router. So it will be a man in the middle attack, and that way. Okay, 32 says, what are two benefits of the control based compared to traditional? Let's see. Two answers. There should be a choose two here. It was not mentioned, but it should be in the exam if you face such real question in the exam one day. Controller based increases network bandwidth usage. No. While traditional lightens the load on the network. No. And by the way, controller based will always, by marketing and sales perspectives, will be more blessed and have much more good points. So they will not mention as the traditional will lightens the load on the network. So you will not see such thing. No, even it actually by the basis, it's actually against the real infrastructure or the real knowledge of the network. Controller based inflates software costs, while traditional decreases individual licensing cost. Traditional decreases the individual licensing cost. No, because in traditional network you must purchase a license per box. No. Controller based reduces the network config complexity. Yes. While traditional increases the potential of errors. Yes. Correct. Control that was specified in detail in chapter 7 in multiple times actually. Controller based provides centralization of the functions, while tradition requires distributes management function. D is correct as well. Controller based allows for fewer network failure. Yes. While traditional network increases failure rates. Yes, but I have to choose 2, so unfortunately I will have to sacrifice E, because E is also correct. C and D will be chosen for this question. 33 says, what SD architecture plane assist network with devices with making the packet forwarding decision by providing layer 2 reachability and layer 3 routing information? The control plane is the brain that takes the decisions after looking for some tables in the memories that I have talked about in chapter 1 architecture of the CCNP Enterprise Core exam course. Which one access technology is preferred for SOHO, SOHO architecture? If you have a small office, how would you provide internet or one connectivity to that small office that contains only maybe 3 PCs and 1 printer? Small office. So it's a broadband cable access, yes, with a good $30 to $50 purchase per month. A frame relay pack switching, no, this is not multiple companies and multiple offices around the world. A dedicated point-to-point lease line, yes, definitely. How many thousands of dollars will cost you? Skip that. And integrated services digital network switching, this is something between leave this one for the government and their institutes of the Ministry of Communication. A will be better. 35 says, refer to this exhibit, which route type does the routing protocol code D represent in the output? Who is D? Who is D? The diffusal update algorithm protocol, which is the EIGRP. Is there an EIGRP here? Yes, so it will definitely be answer D. 36 says, such questions should take from you from 10 to 20 seconds to 30 seconds in the exam, so that you would invest the extra time for another question. Okay. Which to one architecture option help business scalability and reliability for the network? Reliability and scalability for if you have a network, you would like to provide that network with internet connectivity, access to the WAN network. How would that be? By using asynchronous routing? What does that have to do with this? No. A single home branches are more threatened by loss of connection, so this is not reliability, neither scalability. Dual homed branches, yes. Static routing is just like a single homed. When you lose the routing, no replacement there because it's a static. Dynamic routing is much better because it provides with redundant path dynamically and immediately. 37 says a wireless admin has configured WLAN. However, the clients need an access to a less congested 5 GHz network for their voice quality. What action must be taken to meet the requirement? Enable AAA override, enable RxSOP, DTIM, band select. I have no idea. I don't know. I hope that you would have more information in wireless technologies than me, because I really have only studied few about that. I have never worked as a wireless engineer before. Okay, so I hope that 37 you would advise me in the comments please below. That would be appreciated. 38 says what mechanism carries multicast traffic between remote sites with encryption? So it's the ESA tap tunnel? No. Is it the GRE tunnel? Yes, but GRE does not encrypt payload. It requires IPsec to encrypt payload, and you will see that implemented and labbed in chapter 2 virtualization in the CCNP Enterprise Core exam course that is available in this channel. It's exists in both English and Arabic as well, so that will be B. 39 says please differ the controller based and the traditional network. As always, a ton of question focusing on this chapter. Who focuses on network and who focuses on devices? Actual controller based look from a higher point of view for the entire network, while traditional looks per box by box. The user input here is a config. This is the traditional one, while the user input is a policy, if and then. In such way, this will be the controller based. It uses the whitelist security model and the blacklist security model. I believe the whitelist security model will be for the controller based, while the blacklist for the security model. If this was incorrect, please inform me, but I believe it should be in this way. Question 40 says refer to the exhibit, which is physical interface config, the IP config of the Microsoft Windows operating system. An engineer is tasked with verifying the network config parameter on a workstation to report back to that team lead. Drag and drop the node identifiers here. I can see the name of the device, the model of that device, and I can see a system MAC address of that, a MAC address of that specific port. I can see the same MAC address, surely, a link local IPv6, an IPv4, a subnet mask, a gateway. Good. The 1.1, this is the gateway, the default gateway. The 120, this is the specific host IP address. The 1254, this is one step before the broadcast, so it will be the last valid IP address, the last assignable IP address. 255 will be, you know, that is the broadcast. And finally, this hexadecimal weird strange address is the MAC address that is of 6 nibbles, so it will definitely be a MAC address. A hexadecimal address of 12 digit will be the MAC address. Okay, so this is the end of question 40. This is the end of the August update. I hope that it will be good, beneficial, useful for you to review that, and it's like brain survey to do that before the exam. And good luck to all of you to pass that exam from the first shot, so that you will spare your time finding a good job, increase maybe, or have a promotion, expand your knowledge, and start studying the CCNP Enterprise Core, because it's extremely mandatory in the new what do we call it, the new scale of the Cisco certificates. We must study the CCNP Enterprise Core as directly after the CCNA, because both of them are extremely important. They will make you a specialist engineer, not just an associate engineer. And the topics and technologies in the CCNP Enterprise Core are really mandatory, and all of them are being used in today's network, so you must study that directly after the CCNA. But I would advise for you to master the technologies of the CCNA, so that if you would have an interview soon, you will do good in that interview and you will take a good job, so that after starting your new job you should start sparing and investing some time during your day to start studying the CCNP Enterprise Core. Okay, so thanks again for watching. Hope to see you in the upcoming videos. Goodbye.